And good morning, Minecraft. This is Mr. Kassarian, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play Modded Minecraft. All right, so we're getting started with something interesting today. All right, so if we look up crafting, right? We look up stored and craftable. We look at this guy, the crafting co-processing unit. Crafting unit and an engineering processor. All right, well, what does it do? Well, these things are pretty cool. What they allow is, if you think about recipes, right? You can sometimes build multiple things at the same time as you're progressing down a recipe. Well, what these things do is they allow your crafting processors over here to actually do that crafting sort of in sequence, basically, so that you have a little bit more ability. Oh, I need to get one more of them. Okay. So that you have to have just a little bit more speed with your crafting. So in other words, if you have multiple components, it'll craft multiple of them at the same time instead of kind of progressing in a linear format. They are wicked useful. All right. So we're going to look back up at crafting. Crafting coprocessor, crafting this, and we need some more ME glass cable. All right. So let's get ourselves another 10. Start that going. So we'll just get another one of these. And then we'll just look up an engineering processor. We'll start that up. And that'll take a few minutes for us to craft, but it should be pretty easy. All right. It's crafting it. Oh, good. We're crafting more flux crystals now. All right, so let's look at engineering. There we go. Engineering processor. We'll get another crafting co-processing unit, and we'll set that thing down over here as well. Pretty cool, right? I like it. I mean, I think it's a pretty easy way of increasing our crafting speed overall and not having to build a whole bunch more processors out here. All right, so we'll just stick him right there. He's now connected. Bada bing, bada boom. All right. So we now have 3 crafting slots, basically. All right, not too shabby. Let's get down to here and let's start working again. All right, so what are we working on next? That's a pretty good question. We're going to actually start working on some turbines, all right? So this is a fun one, okay? This is going to take a lot of construction, all right? So we're going to need some steam bits from Reactorcraft, all right? The first thing we're going to need are some steam lines. Those aren't too hard to get. All right. We're also going to need some steam injectors. Okay. We're going to need 1, 2, 3, 8. Okay. And we ran out of liquid pipes. Well, that's pretty easily solvable, all things considered. All right. So we look up steam injector. We look up liquid pipe. We craft some more of those. And we go back to our steam injector. And we get 3 more for a total of 8. All right. And we need the steam line too. Now, the next thing we're going to need is what's called a high R. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. 7 high pressure turbine blocks. Okay. And what these will do is actually allow us to convert that power into something vaguely usable. Okay. And there it is right there. So we need a turbine, which means we need turbine cores, which means we need tungsten carbide. Now, I cooked that up in advance, but we're also going to need all of this crap, all right? So we're going to need a grand total of 14 of these turbines, okay? Ha! Look at that. All right, so this is quite the crafting process. I hope you guys were into crafting today. So we're going to need 14 compressors, and we need some more gears, right? So let's make sure we have at least another 12 of these. And we will make all of them that we can. There we go. We have 14 compressors, all right? So now we're going to need to turn those 14 compressors back into turbines, which shouldn't be hard to do. That's not the block I wanted. I wanted this block, all right? Turbine, steam turbine core, compound turbine, turbine. So we're going to need 14 times 8 propeller blades. Ooh. You know, this might be easier just to encode this in, I think. I think it will be easier just to code this in. So let's look up compound turbine. And turbine. We'll encode this, and then we'll just ask for 14 of them. Okay? Because this is probably going to be a lot easier than anything else we're going to be doing. Did that actually code in? I hope it did. So let's look up compound. compound turbine, turbine. Right. So we're going to need 14 compound turbines. And that's going to start crafting. And I wish you guys good luck with this because it is quite the crafting process. So, scheduled 43. Well, what's going on downstairs? You know, that moment where you're like, wait a second, are things not crafting properly? So we have our turbines, right? Turbine. Okay, so we have our turbine. Let's look at the high pressure, which we need a steam turbine core, compound turbines. We need 2 turbines and a shaft core. Well, shaft cores are pretty easy. Assuming that I have the shaft units to do it. So that's 13, so I still need to do... no, I don't need 14. Yeah, I do need 14. That's 8 of them. You know, they're 14, I believe. No, I don't need that many of them. Right. We'll deposit you there, and then we'll get our turbines back out. Because we do this, and then we need some tungsten, all right? And this is just sintered tungsten, so it's not a big deal. Oop, that's my tungsten carbide. That I made with just some tungsten flakes and some coal in a pulse jet furnace, okay? So we need 7 of these. And now that we have our compound turbines, right, we can then look up, right, because we need the tungsten around a compound turbine. So we'll put him there, and then we'll put this around it, which gets me the steam turbine core, all right? 7 of those. Beautiful. All right, so let's look back up at turbine. Okay, so we have our high-pressure turbine. Now we need the turbine. So we need 8 propeller blades around those 7, all right? So we need another 8 times 8 is 64. We need another 56 propeller blades, all right? Now, thankfully, I was intelligent enough to actually encode this in, so I don't really have to worry about it as much, okay? I also coded in a lot of the different pieces of the turbine as well, all right? So it's going to be a little bit faster because applied energistics. And let's just go with applied energistics. And let's not worry overly much about how cheap it is or how easy it is, because trust me, you don't want to craft all this manually. You really don't want to craft all this stuff manually. Okay, so we're getting up there towards 56 of these. I never noticed that. Blade arm. Huh. Okay. Oh, it actually shows the modifiers here. That's cool. Okay. So we surround this like that, and we get ourselves some turbines. All right. Now we need to get ourselves the high pressure turbines, which is simply another 56 propeller blades. Okay. Well, that's not too bad. We can craft those up without too much of an issue. Eventually. As we think about it, maybe. Maybe. I completely forgot to start my timer. So that's going to be an overrun on the episode. Now, what we can also do now is I'm going to need, just to start out with, so we have our steam bypass, we have our steam line. I'm also going to need another 20 of the turbine casings. But we can't craft those yet because we need the propellers to finish up first. Okay. And a lot of this stuff requires propellers and propeller bits and, you know, all sorts of fun things. So we got 56 propeller blades. We can surround that like that, and we can get ourselves the high-pressure turbine cores we need. Now, for the first step of the high-pressure turbine, we're going to need 20 turbine housings. Okay? Well, this is actually the second step, but let's get started with this. So that's going to start that. I wish that good luck. All right, so let's go down to our reactor room, and let's actually start working on this thing. Now, this requires a room that's 13 wide by 10 high by 10 deep. 13 high by 13 wide by 10 deep. All right, this room is not big enough for that. Right? Right. So instead, that's not where I wanted to wind up. So instead, let's actually put our turbine over here, okay? And for this, we're going to get out our measuring tape. There we go. Thank you. And we'll start the room, I think, because I'm the YouTuber. we will give a little bit of space. 1, 2, 3. We'll start the room on this row. And this will be part of the wall here. So that's the corner. So we need to go 13 over. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, good. So here, and I forgot where I was. Okay. So we'll do that. And that is 13. Okay. So we're going to start it out right there. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll break that. I'm just kind of open this from up just a little bit. All right, and then we need it to be at least 13 high. Well, we do have a nice big ceiling here, so let's clean that up a little bit. We'll measuring tape to there. So that's 6. So we need to go down by another 7. So let's actually move forward 1. Let's go, let's see. Let's widen this up just a little bit. Actually goes through dirt pretty easy. And let's say, so this is part of the room 2. And let's say we need to go down, so we're now to 7. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we need to dig all that out now, too. Yay. So this is going to be quite the dig. And let's just get over to here. Just so I know how far I'm digging. Because that's usually a good thing to know when you're doing something like this. All right, so this is going to take a fair amount of digging to get done because we have to open up quite a decent-sized room here. And that's going to take just a little bit of time. So let's keep... So that's the wall on that side. All right, so we go 1... So we're at 1, 2, 3, and we need it to be 10. 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That seems good to me. Okay. So, now that we're at the right height, we need, well, we're almost at the right height, rather. All right, so let's look up steam turbine. We have 20 turbine housings. Okay. Now, for the next stage, we're going to need another 20 turbine housings. And we're also going to need 4 turbine blades, I believe. There we go. All right. So now I have, just so you guys know, on my second monitor, I actually have a full design spec over there. I have a diagram that someone did up for this because that just makes it a whole lot easier. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to... get ourselves up here a little bit. And we're going to take our high-pressure turbine and plop it down right there. All right. Notice how it looks nothing like what you think it should look like. All right. So now that that's accomplished, on each side of this, on each one of the cardinal directions, we're going to go out by 2. Okay. So out by 2 there, out by 2 there, and out by 2 over here as well. All right. We also need to go out by 2 on the top. And this is the sort of thing, by the way, where having... There we go. And then we're going to go, having flight would be handy. So we're going to go up by this and up by this. So you're kind of making a set of 3x3 panels out here. So we're going to go like that. So think of this kind of as being like a windmill-ish shape. You'll see what I mean when I'm done. All right. So out like that and that. And we're going to go out like that and out like that. And that should form into the high-pressure turbine stage 1. All right. So there are, let's see, there are 8 stages, but there are only 7 power-producing stages. And the more stages you have, the more efficient the turbine is. All right. Because what the turbine's going to do is it's going to take expanding steam and turn that steam into rotational energy. All right. So let's look up the turbine. Good. We have the turbine housing we need, and we have the turbine blades. Now for the next step, we're going to need 20. No, well, we should do this. We're going to need 28 turbine housings. And then we're going to need 8 turbine blades. Okay. And yes, this is very expensive on the steel. I believe the total steel cost is on the order of 6,428 units of HSLA steel. So that gives you an idea of how expensive building one of these high-pressure turbines is going to be. On the other hand, it's incredibly important, especially if you're trying to turn this into a single power source. Okay? And the reason for that is that I used to think that Electrocraft bypassed the 4-engine limit on rotary craft shaft junctions. So in other words, you can't put more than 4 engines worth of power into one shaft junction. It turns out it doesn't. If you have more than 4 of any of the same type of engine on the same junction, on the same generator in Electrocraft, it actually wastes all of the extra power. Okay, so you really want to build one of these high pressure turbines because they pack more power production into a single engine. Okay, so it makes these things fairly important to build and fairly useful for you to have. And I'm going to warn you guys in advance that this episode is going to run long because, well, we're building a high pressure turbine out here. So we'll add the high pressure turbine block. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put these turbine blades like that. Okay, and then we're going to add 1 on each end. And this would be a good point to pretty this up a little bit. Well, not pretty it up, but mine more of it out. These things are also much easier to work with than standard turbines in Reactorcraft. So just for you guys to know that. So we'll put you there, and we'll stick you there. And then we just need 1 on the top as well. Part of the reason they're easier to work with, as I just walk out on top of the turbine, is because I could do that. Okay. So now this is going to be like this, like this, like this, and like this. And then like that, like that, like that, and like that. And then if it doesn't do anything, break and replace one of the bits, and it should reform. Beautiful. All right. Now you don't need, you can see that what I'm doing with this room is I'm actually building it out to the right, to the full size, but this thing's kind of a cone shape, so you don't really need to build this out like I'm building it. I'm just doing this so I have some access space in and around the machine, but it's not strictly necessary to do that. All right, so then I'm going to dig up a little bit. Flight would be wicked useful to have, but I don't have it. Let's do this. A little too high. Let's do that. And that's the 3rd block right there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. So let's see if I can get like this. It's actually one of the reasons I don't have flight yet is because I actually find it's easier to do stuff like this when I don't. So there are 2 sets of turbines. The turbine that I actually crafted as part of building this thing is another one of the turbines, okay? So you can use that one. It generates a lot less power, and it has some downsides, especially if you're using Electrocraft. One of its major downsides is that its power fluctuates kind of wildly, and while there is a machine to equalize out that power, you can't recover fluid that you're using in the reactor, all right? And seeing as how we're using a ammonia-based plant for this, our working fluid's ammonia, and ammonia is kind of hard to get, and it's a good idea to recycle the stuff, it's probably a good idea for us to actually use, a high-pressure turbine instead. That's not a big deal. Let's make sure we're actually in range of the thing. Okay, there we go. Let's go up 1 more. Okay, so for the next stage, we're going to throw this on here, and then let's go get ourselves some of those components we ordered up from our ME crafting system. And although it's going pretty smoothly now, it's going to become more and more difficult, like at the last stage where you need 48 of each type. Okay, so if I just look up turbine again, and we can drop off some of this cobblestone we've been collecting. Like that. We move that around. All right, so we got our turbine blades, and we got our turbine housings. Now for the next stage, we're going to need 24 turbine housing, and then another 20, not 30, 20 turbine blades. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of complicated. All right. So we need our 8 turbine and our 20 turbine housings. Joy. Okay. But as you can see, it is actually coming together quite nicely. I mean, if I had flight, this would be a little bit easier, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. Okay, so what we'll do first is we'll take our turbine blades, and we're going to make a Minecraft box around our turbine, our high-pressure turbine. Cool thing about Rika's mods, by the way, you can see the blocks are still there. Oops. Now, when I break this, it's going to de-render that entire turbine. But don't worry about it because it isn't really de-rendered. The whole thing will re-render when I'm done. Okay, so now we're going to make some more 3x panels. So we're going to make some 3x2 panels. So we go out by 2 from these, right? And then we'll go up from here. We'll go out 2 from these. And we'll go down. We'll come over to here. We'll go up again. We'll go out 3 from these. Or 2 from, excuse me. Okay, and then in the corners, if I'm looking at my diagram correctly, we place 1, we place 2. Let me just go back upstairs again, because we need to do this up here as well. We place 1 there, and we're going to place 1 there. And if it doesn't render, break a block of turbine blade and replace it, and it should reform. Beautiful. All right, so we're actually progressing quite nicely. You can see each of these stages is building in quite cleanly. Now, we're also going to need lubricant for this sucker, which is one of the things I've been worrying about a little bit, is producing enough lubricant for this. But hopefully we'll have more than enough. All right. So if I come in here, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to shut this down. Because as you can see, we're not actually processing anything, so we're just kind of wasting, you know, lubricant right now. Okay, so now let's take a look at our turbine situation again. We have 24 turbine housings, and we need some more turbine blades. Okay, so if I go to CPU, yeah, we're still crafting them. So why don't I come back in a few minutes once we're done with this? Well, I'm going to craft up the rest of these, and then just as all one stage, and also build out that room, and I'll be right back. All right, so it looks like we're ready to get started with the rest of this. It's going to be a fun crafting process. All right, so we're still crafting another 52 turbine rotors. And this thing isn't quite done yet, but we're close enough, I think. Well, you know what? I could just finish this off quickly. So we'll just do this. Let's get up here, and let's just break out this wall a little bit. All right, there we go. And thank goodness for hammers. And let's do this side. We just need to go in one more. We can start up there. There we go. And just break this down. All right. Now we'll go in like this. We'll break this off and throw you in there. And do that. And we'll just break this down now too. There we go. Turbine room. Awesome. Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay. So we're at which stage? Let's take a look. All right, so we need to throw another high-pressure turbine block on here. And let's see, blades, housing. So we're at that. So we need to go out by 2 on each of these sides, right? So we're going out by 2 on each side. Okay. And then let's place that there. Let's get the blades out again. So we've gone out by 2. We need to do this. That. 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 And I never said this was an easy process by any means. That. And one more on, what did I screw up here? Okay, there we go. So this is not the easiest thing to do without flight. Let's put it that way. And that. Good. Okay, then around that, we need to put a solid, uninterrupted line of turbine housing. All right, so with the corners filled in. So we go like that, and then we come up like that. And then we go around here. And this should give you guys a pretty good idea of how big this sucker actually is. All right. It's huge. This is I'm pretty certain this is actually one of the biggest multi-blocks I've ever seen, that I've ever built in a survival world. All right. I've built bigger. I'm currently in the midst in a test world of building the fusion plant, Rika's fusion plant. Break that. Throw him in there. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So we just finished that stage. Great. So let's back this up a little bit. This would be monumentally easier with flight, but things I don't have. So we put that there. All right. Now this step is the interior is pretty much the same. All right. So the turbine blade setup is pretty much the same. So it's 2 on each side coming out like that. All right. And let's drop down here like that. Okay. So we're doing the same thing with the turbine blades. And can I go up again? A little high. There we go. And then we go like that, that, that. And that should be good there. However, this time we need to go, oops, I'm missing one there. This time we need to get up a little bit more, because this time the turbine housings go up by 2, okay? And then we put a block size in each of the corners. So let's get out there a little bit. So it's a block like this in each of the corners, right? So we're kind of making these like weird panel shapes. And then if we go like this, like that, and then we go down by 2, down by 2, down by 2. We put another square in here. And then we go, like that, and we're missing just a little bit up at the top there. All right. But this actually does give you a good impression for how big this thing actually is, right? Right. All right, so we stick this guy there, and we hope that this forms when I do this. Yay, it formed. Okay. And we break down our scaffolding again. Now, this stage is even more crazy, all right? So we need 36 turbine blades for this, which we don't have yet, all right? Because we need to go and get the rest of them, all right? So let's go over to here. Now, this stage is weird because it actually requires less casing and more turbine blades, all right? So it's just balancing it out a little bit. So let's go turbine. We'll get the rest of these out. And let's hope I did all my maths right when I actually designed this. When I did the ordered the stuff from the ME system. It'd be kind of embarrassing if I was over or under, because that's a waste of resources. So we have 2 more stages to build. So we'll stick 1 stage in there, all right? And now we need to go down by 3. So 1, 2, 3, all right? And it should end up at the base to be 3 by 3 panels. So we do that. And then we go 1, 2, 3, and we bump. Remember, this will de-render it. 2 and 3, and 1, 2, 3. So on this side we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And looking at my chart, the corners are filled in. So we'll plop those in there. And then let's go over a little bit. And we'll go get this stuff back out. 1, 2, 3. We do this, and we do that. We plop the corner in, and we collect the bit that we dropped there. Okay, so then we just need another solid, uninterrupted line of casing around this. Like so. Oops. I have more casing somewhere, right? Yeah, there it is. I'm like, wait a second. I can't be running out of casing. I thought I had plenty of that junk. All right, and then we just need to do this. And I'm getting pretty darn hungry. So we do that. We go out the other way now. And I'll probably break in just a second to get my Steve some food. And the easiest way, well, we could just go straight up now, would be to do this. Boom, turbine. All right, so we have 1 more stage to do. Okay, 1 more. All we need is just 1 more stage. So we're just going to stick our high-pressure turbine right there. We don't need the steam thingy, and we have perfect. Okay, we have just enough to do this. Okay, so now this is the complex part. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 up, right? So we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 from each cardinal direction. Two, 3, 4. This, by the way, is where it would be really nice to actually have some, something to do here. So then we have to do this. All right, so we're just kind of filling in this huge panel of turbine blades. Okay. And this actually may be easier to do from the top of the turbine now that I think about it. And you can actually walk along this turbine. Don't worry about that. So we'll go down here. Like this. Like that. How am I running out now? Unless there's a miscount in the diagram. One, 2, 3, 1. Right? Hold on. 1, 2. Oh. Okay, so I did miscount a little bit. All right, hold on. So you need to break off some of these because this should only be 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. 1, 2, so. One, 2, 3, 4. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. All right, I'll be back in just a second, guys. All right, I got it figured out. I was just derping out a little bit. Don't worry about me. So we're gonna do this, 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 this. And then it goes 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. All right. Then I go down to the sides, right? So here there's going to be, yeah, because it's a solid, uninterrupted line of casing here. But then it goes like this, like this. So I'm just going to fill in the walls, I guess, first, and then we'll worry about the interior. About those, you know, bits that cover up that last bit of turbine that'll be visible. All right, so we go up here. Like that. And I have, what, 11 left, right? We go like that. And then we go down here. Let's actually lower this a little bit. Actually, you know what? We'll drop this down a little bit more than that even. We'll just drop it down a bit more. There we go. We may even go down more than this, but we'll see. So now that we're underneath the turbine, there we go. Let's actually collect the rest of this junk. All right, what's the last side that I need to do? The bottom, partially. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we just need one more side, which is this side. Ba-dump, ba-dump, ba-dump. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. And then we'll knock off a piece of turbine blade. And boom, the turbine has now been built. There we go. So we now have a fully completed and functional high-pressure turbine that only used up every piece of HSLA I could get my hands on. So there we go. I know this episode's probably run well over time at this point, but I think it's worth it because I wanted to actually show you guys the full build process for this turbine, because it is one of the largest multi-blocks I've seen. It's probably not the most complicated. I think that award probably goes to the Reactorcraft fusion plant, to be honest with you. Kind of ironic that both the most complicated multi-blocks I've ever seen are both from the same mod. Go figure, right? Not that I'm complaining at all, ever. I love this mod to death. So next episode, we're going to actually start working on our working fluid reclamation system. And once that's done, we can honestly get this guy running. Maybe. We'll see. All right. So, guys, this has been Mr. Kassarian. I want to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, give me a like, comment, subscription. If you liked seeing a Reactorcraft high-pressure turbine in construction, let me know. I think it's pretty cool. You know, I don't see a lot of people building these in survival, so I like it. Anyways, guys, this has been Mr. Kassarian. Thank you all for watching. And as always, and until next time, happy mining.